As great as Jimmy is, the playoff Jimmy thing has put Jimmy Butler in a conversation with guys that maybe are a little bit above Jimmy Butler.
We all know Jimmy Buckets and what he can do. We all know what he's done. We all have mad respect and love for him. All I'm saying is, you're going to sit up there and ask that one thing. Could you get me one game? Yeah. He couldn't get you one game.
And you guys bought into the hype, and I kind of bought into the hype too as a Heat fan. I bought into the hype. But my eyes are open, and this is the Jimmy Butler we have now. This is what we have. He's not that guy.
All the buzz surrounding Jimmy Butler recently has been that this whole playoff Jimmy thing has always been a myth, and all that talk probably narrows down to recency bias, but it's hard to still give him the title of playoff Jimmy after he sold in the second round against Minnesota. After the Warriors were able to defeat the second-rounded Rockets in round number 1, things were looking up for Golden State, but in Game 1 against the Timberwolves, Curry injured his hamstring in the second quarter. However, they were still able to squeeze out a win in the series opener. Then the news broke that Curry's injury was going to keep him out for a while. So naturally, it's time for Butler to prove this whole playoff Jimmy nickname he's got. But he does the complete opposite, as he allows the Warriors to lose 4 consecutive games in Curry's absence. Just like Stephen A said, he couldn't give them one game.
One game.
One game. One game.
But it seemed like for Jimmy Butler, that was asking too much. If he was able to just keep the series alive and be their number 1 guy and send it to a Game 6, Curry would have been fully recovered and ready to play. It would have actually been pretty nice for him because conveniently, there was a 3-day break scheduled between Game 5 and 6, which would have given him even more time to heal. But only if Butler had did his job, but he couldn't even do it, and it's not like Curry left them down 1. They won the first game, and so it wouldn't have been the end of the world if they had dropped one game, because the series still would have been tied. But no, they wanted to just let Ant Edwards and the Wolves coast for the rest of the series. How Butler played just doesn't reflect very well on his image. We've been hearing these playoff Jimmy testimonials for such a long time, yet I didn't witness any of that last Wednesday night. Seriously, he was hyped up so much that you'd think he was a completely different player come playoff time.
That's accurate, because playoff Jimmy is a real thing.
Yeah, that's nothing to just tread lightly with. Even though he ain't putting up these crazy numbers or playing in the All-Star game, he understands how to get through a regular season. And when playoffs come, he press a button that we don't hardly see. You know, we see star players press a button, but he really press another button, like his button somewhere else. And he got a couple of them he pressed. And it ain't like no player that you see in the league. Like you'll see Kevin Durant and Bron, they gonna get 30 in the regular season, 32, 33, but Jimmy go from like 21 to like 35. You know, it's ridiculous.
As you can see, Jimmy Butler has built himself quite the reputation for being a playoff performer, and he for sure has been in the past. First thing I think of is that 2023 playoffs against the Bucks first round, where he had 56 points in Game 4, and then followed that performance up with 42 in Game 5, including a game-tying shot with 0.5 seconds left to force OT and ultimately knock out a Giannis-led Bucks team out of the playoffs. That was the same year he led an 8th seed to the finals. A year before that, he was also incredible against the Celtics in the playoffs. So no wonder he's been building up this whole reputation for a while now. It's because it's so out of the ordinary, like Paul Pierce said, for a guy to go from barely averaging 20 points per game to getting in that 25 to 30 point range. But that's just what Jimmy used to be able to do, and I use the word used to on purpose because this Warriors series wasn't a good example of that. No Warriors fan expected him to average near 40 like he did that one year against the Bucks, but they for sure expected a little more. With Curry on the team, of course, there was never going to be an opportunity for, I don't know, a career high, but we still wanted to see playoff Jimmy in action. If you have a nickname like that, you're expected to prove that you deserve it. Just like when Charles Barkley was playing, he was expected to grab boards since he was a round mound of rebound. Same way Gary Payton was expected to lock up because they called him the glove. You see what I mean? Wouldn't it be weird if Patrick Beverley played a big game lackadaisical on the defensive end? Yeah, it for sure would be. Why? Because 1, he had the reputation for being an aggressive defender, and 2, he wasn't called Mr. 94 feet for no reason. This same logic applies to Jimmy Butler and his nickname Playoff Jimmy. He gets a pass for missing games and not playing like a superstar in the regular season because he's apparently just made for the playoffs. So when he doesn't do what it seems like his role is, people are naturally going to call him out.
This was the first sign for Stephen Curry, for Draymond Green, and the Warriors. Playoff Jimmy's nothing more than a myth.
Nothing more than a myth.
Clearly, Jimmy Butler as the number one is not capable of having that responsibility anymore. With the season on the line, he had a 16% usage rate in Game 4 and a 16% usage rate in Game 5. That's a role player. Like, get out of here with that. That's not why the Warriors acquired him. As we talked about a lot, Batman and Robin, like he's a much better Robin. And that's no shame in it.
Is he even a Robin? 36 years old. The injuries mounting up. Is he even a Robin? Is really my question, Tom.
I don't think that's a good question. I think it's very clear that Jimmy Butler has the skill level to be the Robin to Steph Curry. The only deciding factor is if Jimmy Butler wants to be the second option, because the way he was playing the Minnesota series made it seem like he didn't even know if he was the second option. It seemed like he wanted to be the third or fourth option. But when Steph Curry is off the floor, he's not just the second option, he turns into the number one option. But his shot attempts just didn't reflect that. Look at this chart. In Game 1, he scored 20 points and shot 20 shots and made 7. Game 2, he had 17 points and shot 6 of 13. In Game 3, he had 33 points and shot 26 shots and made 12. That's a good game from him. In Game 4, he had 14 points, but only shot 9 shots. In Game 5, the elimination game, he had 11 points and shot 11 shots. But compare that to Jonathan Kuminga, who in the elimination game, he scored twice as many points and had twice as many shot attempts. That doesn't make any sense. Jimmy Butler is supposed to be handling the ball more and shooting more shots than Jonathan Kuminga, yet as you can clearly see, that wasn't the case in this series. Let me share with you an interesting stat. In 2023 in the first round against the Bucks, that was a series where he was averaging near 40, he shot 23.8 field goals per game. This year, he only shot 15.8. That was only 2 seasons ago. That's a big decline. When he was in Miami, he wasn't deferring to any of his teammates. There was never a point where he said, yeah, the last shot can go to somebody else. Like, no, he wanted the ball in his hands at big moments. That's what made him good. There was no way he would have been able to beat Giannis if he was worried about making sure Tyler Hero and Bam were involved every second. Sure, they still contributed, but it wasn't entirely on Jimmy to make sure they played their role. He just went out and took the first shot he saw because any shot he got had a pretty good chance of going in. But we didn't get that same mindset from Jimmy this year. I can't tell you how many times I saw him drive to the paint, have good positioning to go up, but jump stop and kick it out. He did that over and over again. And I'm not against him playmaking, but sometimes you've just got to do it yourself, and these were one of those times. But when he was asked about the whole situation, the mindset that everybody feared he had was confirmed.
I don't have a burden or expectation. I don't. I play basketball the right way. I will continue to play basketball the right way. If that time comes where, you're people that are saying whatever, supposed to score 40 or 43, whatever the case may be, I'm capable of it. I can do it. But I love making sure that my guys are comfortable, passing the ball to them, taking the right shots at the right time. But we'll talk about it. If that may be needed, who knows?
Who knows? It should have never been up in the air if Butler should take over or not. That was the reason they acquired you at the deadline. When Steph is out, it's supposed to be Jimmy Butler's team. I don't want to blame this on Steve Kerr, but who else is in his corner? Is Kerr telling him that he just needed to pass the ball? Is that why he only shot 11 shots in Game 5? I find that hard to believe. I think Butler is making all this up just because he wasn't sure if he could play up to the moment. And that whole speech he had about playing the right way, well, I'ma just let Gil share his thoughts on that one.
And I hate when players do this, and I hate when coaches tell players this. Play the right way. What does that mean? Like, I know the concept of it.
Share the ball.
Share the ball.
Play together.
With who? with a whole bunch of players that's not capable of actually putting the ball in the basket.
So you probably shouldn't share the ball with
the
them.
right way is turning that. You are the best player. And you think playing the right way is to turn down this open shot, drive, and pass it to a non-threat.
Crazy.
Sometimes playing the right way is you dominating the game.
I 100% agree with Gil on this one. Sometimes he has bad takes, but this one is actually a good one. Playing the right way doesn't really mean anything for winning. There's this trend going on where people put players in categories of if they're ethical hoopers or if they're not. They say the foul baiters aren't, but the guys who just keep it honest are. But guess what? SGA doesn't fall into the ethical category yet. He saw a lot of success, and that's because you don't gain anything from trying to make sure everybody is pleased. Now, don't get it confused. I'm not defending a dirty player like Dylan Brooks. He doesn't play the right way, obviously. He does a lot of dangerous fouls and things like that. I'm not defending that, but if the phrase not playing the right way is taking a bunch of shots so your team wins, I'm not mad at it. In this situation though, it seemed like Jimmy didn't want to step on anybody's toes or make anybody upset because he was shooting the ball all the time. Little did he know that's what everybody wanted and expected. Matter of fact, I take that back. He knew that's what everybody expected. That's just a weird thing to say. Jimmy was talking about how he wanted his guys to be comfortable in that interview. He was saying he didn't want to unleash playoff Jimmy because his teammates might not like that. Is that really what he's going with? I'd rather him just say that the moment was too big for him or something like that. Then this whole I'm just a team player thing, that's just pointless. Jimmy's never been a team player. Look at how he left Miami. He left the team in shambles because of his attitude, and not once when he was pouting and giving up in the beginning of the season with the Heat did he remind me of somebody who puts the team first. But now, when he's expected to have some tunnel vision, which he's normally pretty good at, he just wants to keep the peace. This is a completely different version of Butler. I don't understand what his goal with trying to keep the peace really was, but Gil seemed to think he knows.
It's like you're trying to outsmart the media. You can't push off accountability by saying I'm playing team ball.
Right.
That's it. You can't do that here.
Weak, man.
Because I can tell you in history, everyone who's tried to say, hey, I'm turning down my shots and I'm going to show y'all what my team really looks like, and we lose, and they blame him anyway.
That was actually said perfectly by Gilbert Arenas. It seemed like Jimmy Butler was trying to get a pass, or at least not get blamed, by trying to hide behind the idea of him just playing team basketball. But like Gil said, that doesn't work. Team basketball or not, the media is always going to blame the star player when the team loses. Steph Curry can't be blamed because he was injured, so that means that Butler's going to have to deal with that. There are very few fans who care about how even the box score is. They just want to win. Actually, I think it would have helped this whole playoff Jimmy narrative if he started jacking up shots and got them a game or two, even if his percentages were lackluster. But in an attempt to make it seem like it wasn't his fault for losing to the Timberwolves, Jimmy has made it obvious who the scapegoat is, if you want to call it that. At the end of the day, this team had high expectations, and when the team fails, nobody is going to blame Pat Spencer, nobody's going to blame Quentin Post, nobody's going to blame Kevin Knox. Why? Because they don't play that big of a role. They're more likely to blame Curry, Jimmy, or Draymond, simply for the fact that those three are the big three. Star players get all the praise when they win and all the critique when they lose. It's just how it goes. To be clear, I can somewhat understand how Jimmy was trying to be more team-oriented, but this wasn't the way. Passing the ball up to give it to Pods, even though he shot 34% from the field in the series, isn't good basketball. It's unselfish, but too unselfish. That reminds me of something Rashad from Gil's Arena said. He said sometimes you have to set your teammates up to fail, and although that might sound backwards, it's actually really smart. What he meant was sometimes if you're the main guy like Jimmy, you have to let your teammates' stats suffer. So that means that your numbers can go up for the good of the team. Maybe that means seeing that Pods is open, but Jimmy, instead of passing the ball to Pods, he keeps the ball in his hands and makes a different play. Pods might not like that in the moment, but hey, his shooting percentage shows that maybe those types of looks aren't the right fit for him. That's all I'm saying. Now, if you made it to this point of the video, I appreciate it. Also, thanks for helping me get to 1K subs. I've been making videos for a while now, and it's good that the channel is finally starting to see some growth. If you have any recommendations or questions about the channel, or just how I can make things better, tell me in the comment section below. Until next time, peace.